So we're back with another video that is going to deal with module 6. The first lesson of which is the introductory activities, like all modules. The title of the sixth module is entitled Nature, Any Future Without It. Well, that question is self-explanatory. Is there any future without nature? The answer is, of course, no. We cannot, and we will not live if we ruin our nature and the environment. That is going to be the theme that we'll see together in the sixth module. The page starts with a number of pictures, as you can see. The first is one in which we have and depicts a mountain in the background, some clouds, as you can see, a blue sky in the back, and the reflection of all of that in the on water, which appears something like a lake, or it can be nothing but a lake. Yes. Moving on to the second, which is a natural view. Moving on to the second, you can see a colosseum in the background, with a man trying to help with the water that is getting higher and higher. It is raining. We're having lots of rain in that picture, and the water is not going anywhere. It's just it keeps getting higher. That's what we call floods. The third picture, in which we have lightning striking on a city, together with lightning, as you can see in here, we usually have thunder, which makes that very high sound. Moving on to the second page, that is going to be page 184, in which we have the first activity. What do you think the biggest threats to the environment are? So, threats to the environment, we have many. As they said, these pictures might help you. We have in the first one a dead fish, a dead animal, sea animal, a dolphin maybe, or a tuna fish that is dead, and that might be caused by pollution. Especially plastic bags are causing a bigger problem these days, because many fish eat them and end dead. In the second picture, you got lots of things thrown on the streets, which are causing land pollution. As you can see, again, plastic bags and paper and trash thrown on the streets. The third picture, in which we have a tornado in a farm field. It can be bigger and more dangerous sometimes, which we call a hurricane. In Britain, they usually call it a typhoon or a cyclone, so it depends on the place in which this is happening. But it looks more like a tornado. Moving on to the fourth picture, in which we have animals that look skinny and unwell, and because there are no plants on the ground, we can tell that there is no rain, and that causes plants to die, and as a result, animals like these cows can't find things to eat, and they end up like that, as you have in the picture. Maybe they'll die soon, and that will cause people to end up not finding anything to eat. As you can see, no plants, and if animals die, people will not find things to eat. That's what we call starvation or famine, which in the past mainly caused the death of thousands of people. In the fifth picture, we have fires. These are not clear enough, but they may refer to forest fires in which trees are burnt and maybe thousands of square kilometers of forests are burnt. This happens for two reasons. Either they happen naturally because of periods of drought like these and because of high temperatures, or they might be caused by humans who want more land for their agriculture. And this is what I explained in the following paper. As you can see, we're talking about personally, I believe that or think that the biggest threats to the environment are deforestation, cutting trees and forests, and this is made by humans, so it is man-made, not natural. Forest fires, which result in loss of animals, trees and plants, and the habitats of many animals, and this is also man-made. Many animals die in forest fires, trees are also burnt, and many plant species are lost. In the habitats also where animals live, pollution, which is also another big threat, and it is man-made. Climate change is also man-made. That's what science has proven, because it is one of the results of pollution, and pollution is man-made. Floods, when a lot of rain falls in one place, resulting in high levels of water, and that is something that happens naturally. So we got some pictures in here and the explanation. As you can see, you will find this document in the description of this video, down in the place where you find description for YouTube videos. Moving on to the other page, page 185. We're supposed to put these threats under these two headings, natural as opposed to man-made. Moving on to the second activity and matching. So I'm reading the first. Period of dry weather. As you can see here, dry is the opposite of wet. Dry is when you have no water. Period of dry weather, especially a long one, that is injurious, that is bad to crops. Crops here we're talking about plantations of fruits or vegetables or wheat that people eat. So if the weather is dry, we're talking about drought. Drought is a noun that refers to usually long periods of dry weather. A great flowing or overflowing of water over land, when we have lots of water on land, that is called flood. The third, an unusually large sea wave, waves in the sea, produced by a sea quake or undersea volcanic eruption, also called seismic sea wave, because of quakes that can happen also in the sea. We call them sea quakes. When the ground moves, earth moves. That is taken from Japanese for tsu, which is a harbor, and nami, which is a wave. So that's what we call it, tsunami, of course, or in English, tidal wave. Tidal is the adjective from tide, or a wave. 4. A series of vibrations induced in the Earth's crust by the abrupt rupture and rebound of rocks in which elastic strain has been slowly accumulating. Rated on the Richter scale from 1 to 10 after Charles F. Richter, 1900, and died in 1985, a U.S. seismologist. A seismologist is a person who studies or is interested in seismic science that studies earthquakes. That's an earthquake. So it is a vibration of land when land moves and shakes, and that can cause problems, especially for buildings that might fall and be destroyed by earthquakes if they are very violent. From 1 to 10, we're usually talking about earthquakes, as in Japan, that are usually 7 or 8 degrees on this scale. 5, event, or a hole in the Earth's crust through which lava, steam, and ashes are expelled either continuously or at irregular intervals, which happens most of the time at irregular intervals. We're talking about volcanoes here. These are pictures that are supposed to help us. Here is a picture of periods of drought that can be very bad for crops such as corn, the plant we have in here. The second is a picture of floods. That is a wave, a very high wave, sea wave, that can be the result of a tsunami. 5, we have an earthquake. As you can see, it can cause lots of damage. And in the fourth, we have ashes expelled through a volcano. Moving on to the third activity, match each picture with the appropriate headline. These are headlines taken from newspapers that are supposed to describe these pictures. So we're going to match them. A 70-year-old woman stumbles. Stumbling is walking with difficulty because of some reason past scenes of destruction after a killer earthquake. So that is going to be this picture in here, D. Or is it? Yes, A, B, C, D. Yes, this is the one. A woman stumbles, tries to walk properly against scenes of destruction. These are the scenes of destruction. We have a broken car, and we have a problem with the ground in here. That is picture D. Is latest stormy weather a cause for alarm? We have storms in here. That is picture A. As you can see, very we have violent wind in the, as you can see in here with these trees, and the two men trying to walk and amid wind and floods. Apologize for that. 3, hurricane that brought fear to holiday islands. That might be picture C. Imagine that people are having fun on the beach, and as you can see, a very high tide and sea wave is coming to the shore. 4, the volcano of Mount St. Helens was dormant. As you can see, we talk about volcanoes that are not active as dormant for 123 years before erupting ferociously, which is an adjective that describes being violent as ferocious animals in the wilderness. So that is going to be, of course, picture B. That is a picture of a volcano that is being active. 5, a city goes on flood alert. I think that is going to be E. This picture, as you can see, with very high levels of water across the city, which I think was taken from Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which resulted in lots of damaged houses and terrains, and that was a very big disaster in the USA. 6, a tsunami loses speed when it reaches shallower water, shallower as opposed to deeper, but its height grows. As you can see here, I think that is going to be picture F. A very high tide caused by a tsunami. They can get up to 15 meters high. Moving on to the Fourth activity, discuss the statement in the bubble and answer the questions below. Here is the statement: there is little we can do to predict natural disasters and even less to prevent them. So we have to focus on two things in here. Prediction. To predict is to say that and know for sure, well, not necessarily for sure, but you can tell that something is going to happen in the future. Can we predict natural disasters? That is one thing. The second, even less, the statement goes, to prevent them. So are natural disasters preventable? Can we prevent them and stop them from happening in the future? Are all the disasters predictable and preventable? Well, you can find the answer in the document, as I said. So the statement mentioned in the text is, there is little we can do to predict natural disasters and even less to prevent them. Here is an example of an answer. Of course, this is not the only right one. Personally speaking, I think that the statement is correct to an extent. It is not 100% correct, but it is correct to an extent in that, although it is true that few disasters are predictable, few of them are predictable, such as hurricanes and floods, which are predictable. We can predict them. We can know for sure when a hurricane is going to happen or when floods are going to happen and where. There is a lot we can do to prevent many disasters, however. We can prevent lots of disasters, such as climate change, which is a disaster, but it is also which is also the cause of many natural disasters, including droughts, desertification, when deserts become bigger and bigger, and floods. Here is a graph that can make it easier to understand. Pollution, which is man-made, caused by our human activity, results in the ozone layer depletion when we have a hole in the ozone layer, and that might cause in return hotter climate getting changing and getting hotter all the time, and that might cause these things: less rain. Less rain means more droughts in some places and more floods in other places. That can be the cause of having less vegetation, and we mean less plants. Less plants means no food or little food for animals. So there will be less plants and less animals. This means less food for people, and that can be the cause for starvation or famine when many people don't find enough food, and that will cause the death, and is causing now these days and all the time deaths, human deaths. Hot weather also means, hotter climate also means forest fires, and that will cause the loss of animal habitat in these forests. Many animals live in forests, and if they are burnt, many animals will lose their habitat. Desertification, as we said, deserts getting bigger and bigger, so that means less human habitat, getting smaller and smaller as we lose more land to deserts. And last, less water to drink, in that might cause wars over water resources, which is something that is expected to happen one day or the other. So moving on so this statement is true, but not 100% true. It is true to an extent. It is partially true. Moving on to the homework, you're organizing a campaign to make people aware of something and to sensitize them and to bring their attention to this. In your school, to encourage students to save the environment. Work in pairs, small groups, to design a poster. You're asked to design a poster representing an idea and your motto. Like a motto is what people usually say, and like this one, that is something short and easy to remember. So like the one we have in here, if it's not far, don't go by car. So we're talking about your destination. If it is not far, if it is not distant, you don't need to go by car. You can go on foot. Do it right. Switch off the light. If you have lights at home that you don't need when it is dark, so just switch them off. So these are expressions that can be easily remembered, and that makes them a good motto that can be written on a poster to make the idea easy to catch and remember, and that will help you in your campaign in which you want to encourage the students to save the environment. So that's why we're supposed to design a poster with a motto and the idea of encouraging your fellow students to save the environment by doing certain steps. Be ready to represent it at this speaking section. Well, that will be all as we move on in the next video to the second section in which we have listening. So that is all. I'll see you in the next video.